Good afternoon and welcome to another V Rising Tournament Series showcase sponsored by Stunlock Studios. This is day 3, hour 6 of the tournaments, and we have been having a blast so far. Some of the players got so far ahead yesterday. Unfortunately, I did take the day off in order to walk around the city and go on a date and just take a mental health break since I've been going excruciatingly hard since release. As you can see, I actually have 6 pages of V Rising information. We're talking strats, speedrunning, and theory crafting. And here I've done a formulaic breakdown of what it's going to take to go from the tutorial to your workbench in material costs. It's a pretty rough estimate. I mean, I mostly did the detailed specifics, and then I roughly estimated how much of each I would need with kind of some extra just in case. So we're looking to figure out for the next tournament on May the 28th at 10 a.m. Pacific when it opens, how many things we have to gather and then go get a horse and then put a workbench down, get into, gear level 18, and then try to horse lord Ferocious Bear and then kill Quincy all within the first hour to skip into Iron. So we're doing some top tier competitive plays, and we've learned a lot this tournament. Also, I just want to thank everyone for boosting me up from 0 to 30 hours of watch time in the last 3 days. It's just unbelievably amazing. It's an incredible achievement, and that's because of all of you. So thank you for that. Big shout out to all of you. Thanks for your comments, likes, and love across YouTube. But without further ado, this is going to be hour 6 as we work on the servant economic rush strategy, where we try to get all of our coffins down and we want to get all of our servants out working across tier 1 to bring in everything that we're going to need to boost ourselves through tier 2. Because as a lot of you know, you actually need a lot of things like grave dust and copper and coarse thread, I believe. You need a lot of tier 1 mats in tier 2, and then you need a lot of tier 2 mats when you get to tier 3. So we are going to test out that servant strategy, and I think the servants also make it so you don't have to play as often. You can still be competitive in a tournament environment without having to play 12 hours a day. I think by getting the servants early, and as you guys saw, we have a lot of time that we could have made up for this tournament, right? We died twice in PvP. Quincy killed me when he was one shot, and Ferocious Bear killed me when he was one shot. So when you take those into account, we actually could have saved 3 or 4 hours in this run already if we had just played better and learned more. And so that's what this is all about. So thank you all for coming with me on this journey. It's been a blast, and it's going to continue to be a blast, and I hope a lot of you will join us on May the 28th for the Stunlock Studios sponsored Tournament 2. Please join the Discord. It's in the link below the video. But again, without further ado, for the second time, we're actually going to dive into the servant strategy and building all of the things that we're going to need to accomplish that. We also wasted, obviously, a lot of copper bars on our deaths, right? Because we had to, once we died, we had to re-gear, and so we had to make, extra copper spears and just kind of be prepared. But here we go. Gonna need some stone bricks. We do have quite a lot of stuff set up here, so even though we're far behind in the tournament, because this is a hardcore tournament, it's only going to take 1 kill or 1 base raid to bring us from the bottom to the top. And we have a lot of players already this is day 3 of the tournament. We have a lot of players who are already in tier 3. We had 1 player kill Behemoth solo. So someone has the soul of Behemoth on the map already. It's just very intense what these players are employing strategy-wise. And I do recommend you all just join the server now and start working on your strategies, start trying speedruns, and overall just have a good time, of course, as always. Thankfully, they made the cosmetics the same cost as the normal things. I really appreciate them doing that. So we've got our walls up, right? We've got really good barricades here, which is going to save us from having to build a lot of walls around our keep, because they're not really going to be able to get into our keep area unless they have, bat form or toad form. And so I'm going to still continue to play for the most part as though this is day 1, because I'm not even sure if anyone has killed Styx yet, but possibly they have if they managed to kill Behemoth. But in any case, we're just going to continue to play this as though this is day 1, right? So even though we took a 2-day break, and we you know, had some intervals and some stuff to do, we're going to go ahead and dive in as though it's day one. So now we would be doing our servant coffins, which is castle, excuse me, production dominance. And so we're going to need 16 planks each and 8 copper ingots. And sorry guys, I'm actually going to be writing this stuff down probably as we go. Or maybe I could come back and do it later, but we're looking at trying to get 7 times servant coffins, right? As soon as possible. So each one of those is going to be 16 planks, which is 16, you know, 16 planks, 8 copper ingots, and 1 greater blood. So obviously you're gonna have to multiply all that times 7, and each plank is 20 lumber. So, you know, it's just gonna be a lot of stuff. But for now, we already have that stuff because we've been playing, and I'm not sure how long it's gonna take to get that in some other setting. And also right now, I'm just gonna try to get them all going without worrying too much about expanding the base and trying to get it all set up correctly. So there's not going to be a lot of space here. We're working in like a 4x4 box. But now we can go actually get those 7 servants and get them working in T1, right? And get them cooking. Because when you put them in the coffin, in order to turn them into your servant, you have to, you know, slit your wrists and dribble blood down into the, you know, the cracks of the coffins. And then it's slowly going to drip into their mouths over an hour and a half and make them become the servants of So Bad Strange. So I'm building up a small army here. And this was early game, right? This is hour 6. So we're 6 hours in, and we did really well all the way up until we didn't. And then we did awful for about an hour and a half, but we brought it back. And so assuming that we hadn't had those mistakes, right, because we're still learning and we're feeling good, things are going great now, we would have 7 servants probably in the first 3 hours of the game, and then we would get them out working. But obviously finding high quality servants is going to take some time. Finding high quality servants is going to be interesting. Also, we're going to start employing the lockbox strategy. Even though this is hardcore and you can destroy someone's keep, I think a lot of times players aren't going to build the key to destroy your keep because the key is expensive. So I think they'll just come, if they actually choose to siege you, they're just going to take all your stuff and leave. They're probably not going to zero you out, which is the same thing that we see in official. You can also only carry the amount of inventory slots that you have, so this game is actually more forgiving than I think a lot of people originally thought, as far as being zeroed out or being reduced to nothing, even in a hardcore mode. You saw we died quite a few times, and we managed almost always to come back from those deaths pretty fast. We just put in, you know, our gear, we made some more stuff, and we got it going on. So here I'm not actually going to be looking for really high quality, so we have some loot bags already. So we have to be careful, right? Because we could have higher level players now grinding the lower level areas. See, I haven't played in 1 day, and I already feel way worse. Like, I feel like we lost our competitive edge. And that's, you know, that's any game, and that's anything in the world. When you play on a competitive level and you take a break, you lose it for just a second. I also think a good mix of servants is probably the right idea. So we're probably going to grab a rogue, and then we'll grab a warrior, and then we'll try to go grab like a worker or a scholar. The skeleton bro army is so strong early and late game. Oh wait, we actually can't dominate. Construct and interact. I forgot to interact with the coffin. A classic. That's alright. You know what we always say, fams. This is a pro progression stream. This is that tournament mindset. So we're going to make small trips, preferably, and then return to base to return everything that we get. Always trying to progress upward and be kind of nervous, right? And prepared for PvP at any time. There we go. Now we have to use the dominating presence, and there it is. Need to suck an NPC here as well in order to get a nice blood buff going. Over the last 2 days, we've been reviewing a lot of the admin footage on YouTube and trying to clip it all together and make a nice advertisement for our server and for the upcoming tournament on Saturday. So I think we've got some really good things coming this Saturday. We do have a shoutcaster who's interested in live streaming the first 2 hours of the tournament. So definitely big things on the way. So let's take a look, right? We managed to kill Tristan. So we get, I don't think you actually can't put those together. We managed to kill Tristan, which was really lucky at the end of the last video, right? So all these guys are pretty low. So we'll just choose one at random. Or we'll kill Errol here and get a bunch more copper. Because at the moment, we can have 2 castle hearts. But we've already gone through all the feedback and we've put out the poll and we've talked to the players and we decided that the real competitive setting is going to be 1 castle heart, which forces you to choose a location early in the game's life cycle as your permanent base, rather than giving you the option to put one down quick and then move later. And so that's going to force a lot more players to choose T1 as their starter homes and make it riskier for players to go all the way to T2 and T3. It also ensures a fair bit of safety for players, because now that you can't have 2 castle hearts, you won't be able to claim someone else's castle as your own for the most part, right? It becomes a riskier gambit to try to take someone else's castle because you would have to break down your own first.
Hate to break it to you, but your days are numbered. Let's hear the crunch.
Let's hear that crunch. Here we're going to try to suck up a worker as well. That way we can actually get the worker buff, so we get bonus resources, which is a fantastic play early game. Especially now that we have the list, right? We know exactly what we need. We know we need about 1,500 lumber and almost 1,000 stone or so. And so we would want to get that worker buff early if we're trying to employ the servant economic competitive strategy. Of course, there's going to be a number of ways to compete. And I'm really excited for next Saturday to see more players who are more educated in both PvP and competitive play actually coming in and attempting new strategies. We're also going to see a lot of players stopping people from employing the strategies that worked in this tournament. Because the majority of players who made it to Tier 3 on day 1 of the tournament did the skip strategy to kill either Clive or Ferocious Bear with a horse. And then they went straight to Quincy and killed Quincy at levels 18 to 24. And so if we can get, right, because we didn't really employ those strategies. We just did a little boss rush and set a base down. And then at the 30-minute mark, when we had our workbench, we did really well, right? We were like level 29 and we were on the way to level 37. And so I think if at that point we go and we just walk by Quincy all the time, right? We hit a POI, we go look at Quincy. We hit a POI, we go look at Quincy. And if anyone's in there, we can run inside and kill them. And those players didn't have bases, right? They had been gathering mats for a base similar to this, which is why I wanted to write this down so I could understand what they were doing. So they were gathering mats and rushing Quincy to try to skip through Tier 1. So if we can get to Quincy and kill those players, we zero them out, right? They have nothing. And we've essentially halted their progress in the tournament. So this Saturday, get ready in the first 2 hours of tournament play to see me gatekeeping Quincy and keeping players in Tier 1. That is going to be my Saturday strategy. And so for all of you that are going to be watching that tournament as I try to post the videos live, you know, or quasi-live as they happen, I also decided to bring stone dust and drop it on the ground. I know you can use it to make paper, so you can get your researches done early. Oh, there's a 29 servant. Nice dodge there. I am going to go ahead and take this home. Come to me, my minion. Oops. Another strategy I was thinking that would be really interesting would be to come to copper mine. You see, I actually, I think I wrote it down. Come to copper mine and try to get the copper bars that we needed to get our copper weapon from just killing monsters and looting. But it's hard to figure out, even while theory crafting, what the right strategy to employ is going to be, right? Because everything's risky, everything's time consuming, but it's fun to talk about it and try to establish kind of our own timeline. And it really reminds me, I know we mentioned this in one of the last videos, but it really reminds me of Fortnite and the evolving strategy of learning where to drop, what resources to go for, and most importantly for me, as some of you pointed out in my YouTube comments, thank you guys so much, by the way, for tuning in, for watching, and for trying to help us get better every single day. One of the things that I need to work on is trying to strategically take fights instead of taking every fight, because I let the level 27 aura kill me when I was 36 or something like that. I didn't have that much to gain for killing him, and he had everything to gain for killing me. He didn't zero me out, right? We came back, we were fine. You know, we got to 27 again pretty fast. But it is just like those battle royale games, and you have to know when you should take a fight. It's totally acceptable to run away from a fight. Running away is always winning. Not dying is always a win. And so sometimes you don't take a fight because it's not worth it. You're already in a really good position, and essentially you can only go backward. And I mean, you all watched the footage, right? So day 1 and day 2, the first couple hours, we had fights everywhere in T1. People were getting third-partied, people were chasing each other into other fights, so it's always risky to take a fight, not just because of the environment, not just because you don't know how it's going to go, right? Because we have a lot of players who are competitive, a lot of really good PvPers. Those 1 versus 1s are always going to be dangerous. But then you have another layer of danger when you have a third party or a fourth party come in. And when that happens, whoever the last player to arrive at the scene is likely going to have the biggest come up. Imagine a 1v1, one player dies, another player comes, kills the first player, another player comes, you know, kills that last player. And now they have 4 loot bags. And so it's just beautiful, the evolution of this competitiveness of the game. And I thank you all for joining me as we lay the foundations for a competitive scene. I'm currently talking to Stunlock Studios right now about getting a Twitch Rivals tournament going, and I hope that all of your favorite streamers are going to be in that, and I hope that they will let me compete as well. So it does cost blood to convert, and without the correct flooring, so 50%, so we could bring that down to an hour if we had a cryptofloor. I'm pretty sure that's a T1 research as well. Cryptofloor. So a lot of this is going to be RNG, right? We've gotten a ton of structures, we've just missed the ones that we want. It could be tier 2, I'm not 100% sure. Again, we're still learning. Just like you guys, we're out here learning, having a great time. We'd probably want to get two furnaces down or more as well. But for now, we're just going to get a ton of servants, right? I'm going to go back out there, I'm going to get some more. That was a worker, we're going to go for a rogue, or like maybe 2 rogues, 2 warriors. What else do we have? Maybe a brute from somewhere. And we're still learning the economics of the servants. And then after that, we would build, if you want to know a really interesting strategy and what we're going to do, is I would like to build here in the tournament as my first base, right? If we do some sort of skip strategy, or even if we don't, but we manage to do really well, I want to build here and try to put all my servants like right here or right here, maybe over here. I'm not sure if these are POIs or not. They might be farms, which would make that hard to build at. But maybe here, if there's no POI here, this would actually be the best. Even though it's weird, right? It's not a lot of space in either of these spots, but this road, right? This road is where the majority of the tier 2 patrolling bosses walk. And so, and also a lot of players go Iron Mine to here, you know, Iron Mine over here, you know, Iron Mine to wherever. Here's the monastery. So there's just a lot of interesting things around this area. And if we had a ton of servants, right, if we had 7 or 9 servants, that's going to allow you to fall back to your base during PvP, and your servants will heal you and fight the enemy player. If we pull one of these bosses off the road to here, it's going to make us less likely to be attacked because we're not in the road, and we have our base to retreat to if we need to. So we're looking at some very interesting strategies for how to use our servants effectively in a competitive environment. And I don't think very many people are going to be doing that because I don't think a lot of people have tested it. It's not something obvious, but it is something that interests me greatly. So we're going to be testing that here, hopefully in the next 2 hours. Come to me, my minion. What else is fun is that a lot of players have been talking in our tournament chat about how people are using the rat to gank each other. So we had players sitting at Solaris and at Behemoth in rat form, waiting for some of the faster tier 3 players to try to kill a raid boss. Because if you manage to kill one of those, you get all their stuff, right? If I sit at those bosses as a level 37, and those higher level players screw up somehow, right? They have to reset, they try to escape, and I'm just sitting on the ramp. You can kill a tier 3 player in tier 1 gear. Absolutely you can. Especially if they're very low health. And you know what happens when you kill those players? You are now tier 3, right? You now have dark silver weapons. You've got blood moon armor. You have whatever they had is yours, and you set them back. You all know, right? If you've made it toward endgame, if you're playing, if you're having a good time, you know, anywhere, PvE, PvP, that final set is very expensive in material costs, which is also why I think the servant strategy is going to be good, right? If we get all these servants in copper, let me get this guy cooking as well. If we get all of these servants into copper gear, and then we move, yeah, and then if we set, particularly on this server, it would be similar if we only had 1 castle heart, but for this current tournament, we were attempting to use 2 castle hearts. And so I think if we put base 2 down here, and we have tier 1 servants gathering, then my new servants will all be in copper. I can send them to iron, and then maybe at some point I have all of my servants in iron gear, and then I send all of those guys to gather in Silverlight and Cursed, and then all of us get up in gear together. You see, so it's kind of a cycle, and the servants are really doing all the back-breaking work. We're gonna have 14 or 18 servants out gathering while we're sleeping, while we're producing videos, while we're doing whatever. And so I do think that the economics of the servants is going to be a really, really interesting play. It's going to be very important for next week's tournament and for the future, as well as kind of making it so people can play less often and still have a really good time with the game. We can obviously put them in a lot of this bone gear as well as soon as they're done coming out of their servant phase. So killing those players early in the game, I remember a couple of them were complaining that I was taking all of their sets, but that is definitely part of hardcore, and it would save me a lot of time having to gather a huge amount of bone to put them all into that bone gear, because we're going to have 7 of them. Seems like we're running low on space. We probably need to build another box here. But we've turned all of our lumber into planks, and a lot of planks at that, because we're getting ready to move up to make our second base. Also, whoever said 2 tanneries wasn't the play early game, thank you. I 100% agree with you. You were definitely correct on that call out. So we have some stuff, but it's nothing too great at the moment. Even if we were to die here, our inventory isn't huge. Also, as we saw in the last video when I managed to kill Tristan, right? Tristan was 46 and I think I was only 28, so that was a really big kill on the Vampire Hunter. And he was patrolling right here next to our castle. So if we had early servants up, we could actually have them up on these ledges as fire archers or whatever, and they would assist us, theoretically, in killing Tristan. So I'm very excited for the servants to finish cooking, and for us to actually try those strategies out. Oh, oops. We're still looking for the crypt flooring, which would be huge. Obviously, the paper is going to be really big as well. So really any schematic, and then we can break it down as we just did with the Dusk Watcher's ring, is going to be really important for us right now. Ah! I'm also pretty sure that the higher tier the monster is, the more likely they're going to have a higher blood percentage. So we could get lucky at this tier. We did find that 100%, I believe, rogue on our first day of the tournament almost immediately. But for now, we're seeing a lot of very low level monsters. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this low level rogue. That's right, you can't transform. So having a horse here is also going to be very, very important. Even living directly next to the copper mine, I'm still spending a lot of time walking. Oops. I would like to kill Lydia here again, even though we already have, because she's very likely to drop schematics and some rare drops. But because we already have a servant and they're very low health, I think the likelihood of the servant being killed by Lydia is high. So we'll bring the servant back for now. That small pro progression play and work again. And then probably later today, I'll be releasing another video that showcases speedrunning as a horse lord. Or I'll at least be making the attempt. Because I want to see if we can actually kill Quincy in the first 30 minutes. Like, how fast do I need to be at Quincy to stop other players from killing Quincy? Alright, 3 out of 7 cooking, moving right along. Also, a lot of you have been commenting on YouTube that I make comments like I need to go get copper and then I don't go get copper. I have to apologize, guys. Even though I like playing competitively, I also really like the game. I just love it. And I don't mind if I'm not the best. And of course I'm in a tunnel vision and I'm in a squirrel. And a lot of times when I get low health, I choke. I panic and I start pushing all the buttons and I want to run, right? And you have to resist the urge in a full loot game, just like Battle Royales or games like Rust. You have to resist the urge to run. You kind of have to peel backward fighting and then try to you know, use the environment and make it work. But when I get down to 1%, I just can't. I can't operate. My brain stops working. I feel like I see the future in my eyes and it's a scary future. Also, thank you. Someone told me to attack these mine carts. I didn't actually realize that the mine carts had things. Even though we're so used to breaking barrels and you know, the stone and the copper and all these random things, I never actually broke the little carts. So apparently those can also have ingots and nice drops. So we'll have to be breaking those in our future runs as well. I also think in general, you're not going to want to use your ults. That was kind of a showcase of what not to do. I think in a competitive environment, you're never going to want to use your ult in PvE. You're always going to want to save that for when you fight a player. Also, most of the bosses are impossible to stun and hard CC and silence and all that good stuff. So most of what an ult does in a lot of situations is CC, either soft or hard, right? Like a pull or a stun or an incapacitate or what have you. And so because it doesn't affect the bosses, it's pretty worthless to use it. And then you're just in cooldown for over 2 minutes without the ability to use your ult in a PvP and matchup, which is going to give the other player a massive advantage. Alright, Errol. Crypto flooring, please. It actually looked like he dropped nothing there. I wonder realistically what the drop rates are of schematics from, you know, what's the difference between killing a boss, killing a normal monster, or breaking open barrels? Because we've seen a lot of schematics drop from breakables when we were fighting... What's that boss's name? When we were fighting Nikolaus, the gravestones were dropping schematics. I think we had 2 schematics drop in the same fight just from the AoEs of Nikolaus's explosive corrosive was breaking everything, and so stuff was dropping all over the arena for us to pick up. So it might be a nice strategy to find somewhere that has a lot of breakables and just go hard there to try to finish out your tier 1 schematics if you're not skipping to tier 2. We have a 44% brute here. We would love to have that for ourselves. Maybe we can also, sooner than later, build a jail, you know, a cage, to put someone in for us, and then the rest can all be Oh no, that was 64%! No! No, someone also pointed out that we always kill the monsters that are high percentages. To be fair here, at least I had seen the 44, so I assumed I was going to kill everything but that. So, you know, we tried our best there. But that's going to happen. And in a tournament setting, losing your high blood buffs is going to be very damaging. When we lost the 100% buff on day 1 because we didn't have any salves and we had to heal with our own 100%, that was really damaging. These buffs are extraordinarily important, especially the 100% to boost them all by 30. Come to me, my minion. And in you go. Alright, so let's see. Maybe we actually can build dominance. No, we can't build the cage yet, so that must be after this one, which is fine. going to take some of this out just to make room for other stuff. Because I think we have a nice amount of gear already set up. So obviously just going to the mine is going to be useful for making a lot of bone stuff. But because we have so many copper bars now from hitting the mine so often, I think we'll probably be able to outfit all of our servants into a copper weapon fairly easily. Possibly even full nightstalker. For earlier game, right, if we go for this the servant eco rush faster than we've been going, and you don't have all the copper that you need, these miner's mace, that's a rare drop, is also going to be good, right? Because that's 7, and copper, I believe, is 9. So the disparity there isn't that high, and you won't have to waste so many resources making all your servants copper weapons. Oh, so close. Alchemy lab flooring. We also actually need to go get our alchemy lab just so we can make potions and we can be more prepared. And so I think after we do the 3 servants, we will actually go kill Clive. And then when I went to review the VOD where I fought Aura one-on-one, and also thank you to one of you for reaching out to me on YouTube via private messages and letting me know that the different space bars is going to be a huge competitive play early. And so when I went to review the VOD and I realized that Aura had beat me, I did realize that she killed Pelora, right? Well, I'm assuming that Aura is a female, so he or she killed Pelora the Feywalker. And so that gives you a double spacebar, which is going to give you a big competitive advantage in both PvE and PvP. So continually we see this just beautiful concept happening where in Saturday's upcoming tournament, I can't wait to hear what the shoutcaster has to say, and somebody with even more game knowledge than me, hopefully, really diving into some of the strategies of what players are accomplishing. Because we're talking about immediately at wipe, right? At 10 a.m. on Saturday, you're going to have 40 to 50 players. We haven't exactly figured out what we want the cap to be. We're thinking 40 is going to be plenty for PvP and competitiveness. As we saw in my last videos, we were getting fights non-stop in Tier 1. There were Horse Lords, there were people level 18 to 27, constantly all over the place. And so I'm excited to see who chooses West and who chooses East. So you're going to have these kind of Zergs, right? You're going to have these 2 groupings of players who have figured out which direction they want to go in competitive play. And you're going to have some of them going for Clive and Pelora and then Quincy, or whatever else they're employing, right? Whatever other strategies that we see. We saw 1 or 2 players actually come straight to Tier 3 naked, and then they went to farm barrels and just gathered up tons of Tier 3 materials, which is a really interesting strategy. And then we also saw players going naked to the iron mine to try to get iron with PvP protection on. And then we also saw players go naked to the cotton farms to try to get cotton early game. So there's just all these like weird strategies. And to me, that's the most beautiful part about watching and creating the foundation of a PvP environment, is seeing these new and interesting things happen that we didn't know existed, right? The skip to Quincy and then straight into Tier 2 is the most amazing one that we saw. Right, in my first speed runs, I thought we had to kill maybe 5 or 7 bosses, but it turns out you only have to kill 2. And so on the west side, again, you've got Clive for the bomb and Pelora for the double spacebar. And then on the east side, you have Ferocious Bear for the skip straight into Quincy. And so I think we're going to see a healthy split of players doing both. And then a lot of players are going to be on these 2 choke point bridges, right? These are going to be interesting PvP hotspots. You could just sit here and wait as a rat, and you could kill people who are trying to go Tier 1, Tier 2, right? They're going to get horses from here and here, and this, I think they get horses here or here. And so you're going to have a lot of players going straight to horses, and the more people you have, and the more knowledge they have, and the more competitive this becomes, the more interesting it gets. Because you might have players stopping them from get horses. You'll have people fighting naked in the first, 15 minutes, assuming they don't have PvP protection. Obviously, if they do, it kind of changes it all. But at some point, people are not going to have that, and they're still going to want those horses. So these choke points will actually be viable PvP hotspots. And then like I said, you can clearly see when people go to Quincy, right? You can clearly see that one of these barriers is down. So all you have to do is run by it, check, they're not down, okay, you can, you farm or whatever. Also that fight is like a 10-minute battle. So you do a POI, you go back to your base, which is here, and then you check again. And so you're gonna have people countering these strategies. You're gonna have people camping bear, and the more players that are at these bosses, the harder the bosses are theoretically. So you might have some players going to the bear on horses, and you might have other players just sitting there doing nothing to make the fight harder and hoping the horse players get killed so they can take their horses and their loot. So enough theory crafting though. To me, it's a really interesting subject. I feel like I'm starting to get a PhD in theory crafting for for V-Rising. I hope it's interesting to you guys. If not, please let me know, and continue to like, comment, and share all of your thoughts and criticisms as I try to get better and better every single day. Alright, so we need to fill 3 more coffins. But anyway, that's that wipe. That start of the game is so beautiful to me when you just have all these players who are trapped together. Everyone's running. Everyone's having this crazy good time trying new things, and everyone's talking in global chat. Then you've got a bunch of players right when the PvP timer falls off. They're scared. They're nervous they're going to lose their base and all their materials. If you go too slow and you don't get a base down, you can absolutely get zeroed. And that would be the worst start to your tournament ever if you went from having a lot of things, you had your plan in mind. The rank 1 player right now, he's the one who killed Quincy. So he went and killed Quincy. Oh, 58% right there. That's really nice. So he's the one that killed Quincy, and then he went straight to tier 2 and got iron. And so then he was able to come back to tier 1 and camp all across tier 2. So when we looked at the admin footage, he had just ran this loop around tier 2 here, right? He just went here and here and here, and then he would come down and he would hit bandit and copper, and then he would go back and do it all again. So he basically griefed the entire server during the first day of the tournament, and he killed 20 or 30 or 40 or even 50 players. And so he doesn't even need to farm anymore. He's just farming players who are farming for him. And that strategy as well was just incredible. We'd never seen anything like that before. It became so bad that players were afraid to leave. They started farming naked. They would just go on naked cotton runs, naked iron runs, and naked copper runs. And so you just had all these people who were very afraid because that was his name, Ren, had essentially gate kept all of tier 2. And so, looking at the replay, if we had just killed him at Quincy, none of that would have happened. So to me, it's just fascinating. Just absolutely fascinating, the plays and the counter plays. Also, we know that a lot of players ran up here and they used our strategic castle guide video to know that that was the best spot in the game. And so they're blocking that spot off early. So if 2 players go there, then 1 player probably lost all of that time. Or maybe they fight. They fight with their limited mats and naked at level 10 to see who gets that spot. Oops. Nice sun resistance potion. Very timely. I don't think we have enough warriors, so I'm gonna grab one of these warriors. I think we already got 2 brutes and maybe a rogue or 2 and 1 worker. So I'm gonna grab one more warrior, and then we'll also take a look. This is a lot of monsters. This is actually a really bad place for us to be right now, so we need to be careful. I also think part of my run is going to be to kill Nikolaus. I think this Ward of the Damned is so underrated. I think it's legitimately one of the best PvP, even at endgame. One of the best PvP and PvE abilities in the entire game. 2 seconds, you summon skeletons. That's a lot of skeletons. Things are taking aggro. You know, the skeletons do damage, they knock back. They're just very, very strong. They draw the aggression of the monsters. They confuse players. They'll take hits for you if players try to throw things at you. You know, I'm talking about projectiles. 25% here. We're going to drink that one. I think we want one more worker as well, so we'll go try to get a worker. Mostly very low. We're just going to take one for now, though. We're also to the point where we want to start thinking about moving to tier 2, as we mentioned earlier. Oops. 1%. 1% is basically the best option that we have here. Obviously, the difference between 1 and 9% isn't going to be a lot. I believe it's bracketed, so you need kind of certain percentages to actually have a big difference. Probably that net guy is going to be a good servant to have as well. Maybe even multiple. If you get 3 or 4 net people and someone tries to attack you in PvP and you incapacitate or stun them, and there's multiple nets being thrown at them, I really think that these servants are undervalued. I think just having them around your castle. Also consider how fun it would be to have like a small base near the road at a hotspot and you leave your door open and then you servant lock the back door. Maybe you leave that open as well. And then when players come, you can open some door so all your little trappers run out and then you can shut them in, right? You can box in players. I'm sure there's a way you could leave treasure on the ground to entice players to run into your base and then you trap them. There's so many rat strats. Like we talked about, you know, camping the raid bosses. Another really great strategy would be to camp the cave passages, right? Camp the cave passage to Dunley. Camp the cave passage from Silverlight to Farbane. The cave passage from Cursed to Farbane. There's so many options. It's basically like Escape from Tarkov and how much you can realistically extract camp, because they're already going to have all the loot if they're going that way. There's Ren right now. We're getting plenty of paper as well, just for making these little runs. So there's just a lot of things you can do. There's also going to be quite a bit of RNG involved in the competitive scene, especially for players who are actively farming. One of the questions that we had on YouTube is, why were we farming tier 1 when other players were trying to skip to tier 2? And I think the answer to that is that we could actually get to a high enough level and we could get a copper weapon while they're still kind of trying to horse lord mostly naked. And we really saw that in my day 1 video. I did manage to kill a lot of players in those first 3 hours. I think I killed somewhere around 6 or 7 players. I mean, we had tons of materials, we got horses. So it was actually working to our advantage. We just lost a strategic fight, but had we not, I think we would have been the highest level on the server. And that's without the skip strategy. So that's why I'm saying there are a lot of different strategies. You don't have to skip. I think you could catch up to those players who are skipping by just playing well and having a nice rotation. And so that's why I'm so excited to watch the Shoutcaster this coming Saturday for the tournament, because I want to see I want to see some new strategies. I want to see some big fights. I want to see some third parties. To me, that's exciting. So one more servant to go here, and we'll have all 7, and we will be on our way to kind of an economic victory, in my opinion, an early economic servant play. And then we'll come up here and we'll try to get some tier 2 or 3 servants, right? Because you can kill tier 3 servants, especially right here. I think there's 2, no, here. There's 2 tier 3 musketeers, I believe. You could capture tier 3 servants, probably at level 37, I would guess. Bring them home, and then I think you could use them to kill both players and wandering bosses. And so the most meta strategy that I can think of, and the big skip that I want to do, I'm releasing my strategy to you all. This is crazy, but I really think we can make a base up here, and we could pull sticks from the road at level 37, and I think we can kill sticks if we get 7 tier 3 servants in iron gear. And so we would be the first player on the server with bat form, and then we can just work on ganking, right? We can drop in on Octavian, we can drop in on Quincy, we could drop in on Clive. And so I'm really excited, as you can tell, to work on these new, untested, unknown strategies. And I'll be releasing all these videos on YouTube, because the more strategies we get out there, the more counter strategies there'll be, and the more players that'll be competitive. 68%! No way! 68% Trapper! Let's go! Get over here. Come here, thuggy boy. Yay! That was a beautiful play. A free 70% straight out of the base. So you can really tell that if I was actually gaming, right? If I was a gamer right now, if we were playing competitively, if we weren't hanging out with all of you, working on strategies, having a good time, laughing, thinking, you could have 7 servants probably within 10 or 15 minutes. So we're going to get him cooking. That is 7 cooking servants. And then looking at the stats, you know, we need 7 times this to get all of that going in tier 2. And so I think that we are well on our way to having that. Take some planks, take some fish. Got some nice paper. This actually gives a lot of materials as well. So that's the other reason you want to steal players' gear, and why people are confused. Why did you take all my gear? I'm only level 15. If you break everyone's bone guards down, look at these weapons. They're breaking down into stone and planks. This is actually a strategy here that I never thought about. So again, we're finding a new way to play competitively. If you just farm NPCs that drop reinforced weaponry, the reinforced weaponry becomes stones, planks, and animal hides. You're getting all the materials you need for your base without even having to farm trees or stone. This is actually amazing. I didn't realize it was this strong. Look, I got 1,500 stone from that and 20 planks. That is incredible to me. So we're going to keep that going as well. I think we can put all of our servants now. We're getting so much thread and so much copper and so many good mats that I really do think we can put all of these servants straight into copper. You know, we can get them up toward level 37 as well. And so we'll make them a full set of copper weaponry and then a full set of nightstalker gear if we're lucky. And then after this, when we tune in for the next video in the series, which is hour 7, I think we are going to be making the move to tier 2, trying to get tier 3 servants and iron, and trying to fight all these wandering bosses and really make a play toward getting into the ability to be tier 3 by hour 7. And we didn't even play that well. We had some big holdups and some unfortunate plays, but as I said, we're still learning, we're feeling great, and we're excited for the May 28th tournament coming this Saturday and fighting Octavian to try to skip into tier 3. I will see you all next time for the next hour. We're going to let our servants cook. We're going to take a little break and hang out. And I will catch you guys for the next video. But we're doing great. We've had an absolute come up. And it's still getting better and better every day. We're going to hope that we can kill Ren and get into his tier 3 gear for the biggest come up of our lives. And if that was to happen, guaranteed I would be sieging him today. We also want to try to kill the golem. The siege golem, which is here on day 1 next Saturday, in order to unlock siege golems. I'm also going to be showcasing how to get Scourge Stone naked at any item level and build a resistance potion to farm a nice Scourge Stone loop. So tune in, guys. We have the plays, and I'll see you next time. Please comment, like, and subscribe. As always, share your thoughts and criticisms, and I hope you all are having a beautiful Monday.